Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم من همزه ونفخه ونفثه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So today's presentation, after all this effort, alhamdulillah, is on the Qur'anic precepts that are introduced in Surah Baqarah, Ayat 235. And to my mind, they are quite profound, and I plan to delve into that. I will not do the ocean deep dive that Brother Shahzado does, and I have something more to say about that as we go on. This lecture might go into another part 2 because I might not be able to finish it, but we'll play it as we go along and see how it goes. So, of course, I always introduce with this, that this presentation is for people who truly reflect, and it comes from Surah Nisa, Ayat 82 and 47-24. Will they not then try to understand, that is, truly reflect upon this Quran? Afala yatadabbaruna. And we should always keep this in mind when we are either listening to a lecture, doing a lecture, or otherwise. So these are the 4 ayat. Of course, I will just read the translation. We all know these ayat in Arabic. This divine writ, the Quran, let there be no doubt about it, is meant to be a guidance for all who are conscious of Allah, who believe in the existence of that which is beyond the reach of human perception and are constant in prayer and spend on others out of what we provide for them as sustenance, and who believe in that which has been bestowed from on high upon you, O Prophet, as well as that which was bestowed before your time, for it is they who in their innermost are certain of the life to come. It is they who follow the guidance which comes from their sustainer, and it is they, indeed they, who shall attain to a happy state. Within the 3 ayat, ayat 2, 3, and 4, the Quran introduces the fundamental and ever so critical aspects of rejection of doubt, that is raiba, about it, that is the Quran and its content, guidance for man who has Allah consciousness, belief in al-ghaib, that is all of reality that is beyond human perception, maintains constancy in prayers, freely spends on others from one's own sustenance, this sustenance being much more broad than just material sustenance, and belief in revelation from all prophets. The last segment of Ayat 4 and the whole of Ayat 5 then reaffirm that these are indeed the people who, in their innermost, are certain of al-akhirah, life to come, and who shall receive the guidance, that is, they shall truly benefit from the guidance, and as a consequence, these are the people who shall attain to the happy state of prosperity. The Quran in these ayat thereby lays out for man a comprehensive yet clear way for prosperous living. The rest of this presentation elaborates on the fundamental and critical aspects that have been introduced by the Quran in these ayat for man's comprehensive yet clear way of prosperous living. 1. Rejection of doubt, raiba, about Quran as the book and its content. 2. Guidance for man. 3. Man's Allah consciousness. 4. Man's belief in al-ghaib. 5. Man's constancy in prayers. 6. Man's free spending on others. 7. Man's sustenance, this sustenance being much more broad than just material sustenance. And 8. Man's belief in revelations from all prophets. As well, the presentation picks up at the end on the affirmation that these are indeed the people who shall gain the inner certainty of life to come, truly benefit from the guidance, and as a consequence shall attain the happy state of prosperity. Now we will start with number one, rejection of doubt, that is raiba, about the Quran and its content. This divine writ, the Quran, let there be no doubt about it. The emphasis now here on number one is let there be no doubt about it, is meant to be a guidance for all who are conscious of Allah. The Arabic construction or construct of la rayba fihi here may carry more than one meaning. This divine writ, that is the Quran, let there be no doubt in that it is a guidance. This is the book without doubt, containing in it the guidance. This is the book in which, that is, in its contents, there is nothing of doubt. This is the book, there is nothing dubious about it or in it. This is the book, it is not to be doubted as regards its origin and contents. Various people, various scholars, if you look fairly wide, you will find some or all of these things that have come in one way or the other. All these meanings have variously been accepted for the expression by the scholars, and as such, the construct la rayba fihi may well incorporate the sum total of all these meanings. We lose nothing, we gain something when we do that. Now, la rayba, the harf word that is la in the construct la rayba in Arabic is called la of nafiyat lil jins, which is in English meaning a no of categorical negation. A no of categorical negation means that nothing of whatever follows this no, that is la, nothing exists unless an exception is explicitly stated. The expression la rayba simply comprises two words, la and rayba. The harf la of categorical negation categorically negates rayba. And there are no explicit exceptions to this categorical negation of rayba stated here. In other words, the expression la rayba categorically denies the existence of rayba, period. Grammatically, whatever follows the law of categorical negation must satisfy four conditions. The noun here, for example, rayba, should be singular. Rayba is singular. It should be a common noun, which rayba is. It should not have a tanween on its letter, which rayba does not, first letter, last letter, that is. And it should be mansub, that is, it should have a fatha on its last harf rather than a kasra or dhamma. Ba of rayba has a fatha on it. The expression la rayba fihi therefore states that there is categorically and absolutely no doubt about this book. There is no doubt in it. There is nothing dubious or questionable about it. There is nothing dubious or questionable in it. It is absolutely not to be doubted, and so let there be absolutely no doubt whatsoever about this book. As an aside, note that in the Quran, the expression la rayba fihi appears 14 times in the Quran. Once to affirm that Allah has appointed for man a term, no doubt about it, la rayba fihi. Once with reference to prior scriptures, there have been prior scriptures, no doubt about it. Twice with reference to al-Kitab. Once here, this divine book, this Quran, let there be absolutely no doubt about it. And the second one, of course, in Surah al-Sajdah, Surah 32, Ayat 2, of course, Tanzilul Kitab la rayba fihi min Rabbil Alameen. This scripture, this book, this Quran, free from all doubt, has been sent down, Tanzilun, from the Lord of all the words. Translation by M.S. Abdul Halim. Or the bestowal from on high, Tanzilun, of this divine writ comes in beyond any doubt whatsoever from the sustainer of all the words. translation by Muhammad Asad. So these are the two times it appears with reference to Al-Kitab. And 10 times it appears, La Rayba Fihi appears with reference to the Day of Judgment. Now, think about it. The predominance of Day of Judgment when highlighting categories about which there is absolutely and categorically no doubt, La Rayba Fihi, signifies how the Quran takes pains to remind man again and again of this key and elemental aspect of what comprises a Muslim's belief. Without acceptance of the existence of Al-Akhirah, the Day of Judgment, there is no acknowledgement of accountability of one's action in this world. Without accountability, the concept of justice meted out in the hereafter for acts committed in this world loses its meaning. In other words, the entire fabric of Iman unravels without due and just judgment on Judgment Day. Hence, the preponderance of La Rayba Fihi in Quran when speaking of the Judgment Day. It's very, very fundamental. We forget this most of the times, but from this emanates rejection of no full acceptance of Judgment Day will put into question accountability. No accountability, then it just unravels the whole concept of what we are doing here. If there is no accountability, then when am I going to get my just justice? So, and then Quran goes and 10 times on Judgment Day, it says, La Rayba Fihi, remember this. So I will repeat again, the expression La Rayba Fihi therefore states that there is categorically and absolutely no doubt about this book. There is no doubt in it. There is nothing dubious or questionable about it. There is nothing dubious or questionable in it. It is absolutely not to be doubted. And so let there be absolutely no doubt about this book. With this incontrovertible, this indisputable assertion of La Rayba Fihi, this divine writ, the Quran, this book, then offers itself as guidance for man. Subhanallah. Now the word guidance, and here I mention that I understand and I accept that Brother Shahzadu has been making efforts for the last several weeks and will continue to talk and indeed take an ocean deep dive into Hudan and guidance. And in so doing, he has mentioned that amongst other things, guidance, of course, comes direct. I agree, instinctively, embedded, direct. Guidance also comes from developmental basis, evolutionary basis. But here we are going to just talk about guidance as it refers to the revelation, the Quran. Now, the word guidance appears 291 times in the Quran. As hada, which is a family one verb, 114 times, and as hudan or huda, noun 85 times. And then it appears, as I mentioned others, and I won't go into them, various forms, and I've shown it to you twice as one as family one active participle, hadi, then hudiya, which is passive, ihtada, yahiddi is family 8. We have been through these families before, so I hope you recognize them. Muhtadun and hadiya, hadiyan, hadiyatan, and of course ahda, which is a noun superlative form 7 times. Anyway, I won't go into them. The ones I'll go through are those first two because they appear most of the times. And one is hada, which is the past tense of he guided, and hudan, the noun guidance. So we further elaborate on these two. Hada category includes both past and present tense verbs, hada and yahdi, and is generally translated as to guide. More specifically in Quran, it means to give ability to know right from wrong, or to provide guidance, or to offer guidance, or to guide to the right path. Various ways when we have hada in the Quran, this is primarily, these are primarily the three ways that that particular word is translated when we are doing the translation of this word in English. Now, hudan is generally translated as guidance, a common noun. On occasions, it also appears as a verbal noun, masdar, that is guiding, or the act or the idea of guidance. We delved upon it when we did those 3 lessons on the sarf. More specifically in the Quran, guidance is a positive tenet in that the guidance in Quran is the one from Allah to man. As such, guidance in Quran variously is translated as spiritual guidance. So for example, Surah 3, Ayat 73, the all true guidance is Allah's guidance, al-huda, hudallahi. Or it's translated as the revelation, the Quran. Surah 72, Ayat 13, and when we heard the guidance, Quran, we came to believe it, Surah Jannah. And of course here, in Ayat 2, this divine writ, the Quran, is a guidance. Or it appears translated as showing the right way, that is guiding, which is the verbal noun, masdar. Surah 16, Ayat 37, if you are eager to guide them, know that Allah does not guide those who lead others astray from the right way. And so we have from Ayat 2.2, Ayat 2, Surah 2, of course, so far, incontrovertibly and indisputably, let there be absolutely no doubt that this divine writ, this book, the Quran, all of it is a guidance. But guidance for who? For men who have consciousness of Allah, al-muttaqeen. This divine writ, the Quran, let there be no doubt about it, is meant to be a guidance for all who are conscious of Allah. For this particular ayat, the Quran is meant to be a guidance for all who are muttaqeen. Here simply translated as all who are conscious of Allah. This needs much elaboration. The word muttaqun or muttaqeen, plural of muttaqi, which is an active participle, the doer of taqwa, those who are mindful or aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, appears 49 times in the Quran. This mindfulness, awareness of Allah is termed taqwa, a noun that appears 17 times in the Quran. Other words derive from the same root letters, ta, qaf, and ya. And they appear in Quran as follows. Ittaqa, which is a family 8 word, 116 times, to be pious, to be mindful of, to be conscious of. Atqa, which appears 2 times, that is more or most, peace, mindful. And it appears at taqi, which is an active participle, 3 times, mindful of Allah. It appears at taqatun, verbal noun, 2 times, being mindful of Allah, being in awe, fearing of Allah. But here, mostly, we need to focus on the one that I have put it on bold, muttaqeen, those who are mindful, aware of Allah, and the mindfulness, awareness of Allah, which is termed as taqwa. The mindfulness, the awe, the awareness that comes in about 240 times as shown here, it all pertains to Allah. This mindfulness, this awesomeness, this awareness, which comes 240 times, is for no one but for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, contrary to many translations or interpretations, the meaning of this term al-muttaqeen is not those who have fear of Allah, or those who are careful of their duty, or those who guard themselves from evil. Rather, the positive content of this expression is those who have the moment-to-moment awareness of Allah's presence and who have moment-to-moment desire to mold their own existence in light of this awareness. In other words, al-muttaqeen are those who are perennially and actively conscious of Allah's presence in their lives and who strive to live in light of that presence. So, al-muttaqeen, who are perennially and actively conscious of Allah's presence in their lives and who strive to live in light of that presence. It is this ever-present sense of awareness of the existence of Allah and subsequently living one's life in the light of that awareness that then leads al-muttaqeen to be careful of their duties, to guard themselves from the evil, and to be afraid at all times of losing their acute sense of awareness, this consciousness of Allah's all-presence. But does this ever-present sense of awareness of Allah's presence comes of its own accord? Apparently not. Let us reflect upon this. One, the command, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha. O you who have attained to faith, belief, believers, have an ever-present awareness of Allah. This appears quite frequently in the Quran, and I point out about 7 places where it appears in. We are all very familiar with it. We hear it every time on Friday sermons, for instance. 2, the command ittaqu implies, it is ittaqu, which is an imperative verb, so it's a command verb. Ittaqu implies here that Allah is commanding those who have become true believers, who have fully attained to true faith, that is amanu, to attain an ever-present awareness of His presence, taqwa, in their lives. This is what that command said. Does this then mean that those who are Muslims, that is those who have attained aslama, have fully attained to true faith? There are a couple of typos here. Does this then mean that those who are Muslims, that is those who have attained fully attained to true faith? Observe the following ayat. And this particular ayat, I will read it in Arabic. In قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانَ فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. The Bedouins say, we have attained true faith, amanna. O Prophet, say, you have not yet attained true faith. Rather, you should say, we have submitted, aslamna, since true faith has not yet entered your heart. Number 4. The inference for the individual from above is that submission to Allah is only the first stage to true and complete faith belief in Allah's oneness. For that, there is yet another stage in between, a stage of truly giving oneself up in utter self-submission, or truly submitting, yielding completely. That is an act of sincerely, complete, utter submission, which in Arabic means tasliman. The Quran brings out this aspect most beautifully in the phrase sallimu tasliman. Give yourselves up, a command verb, in utter self-submission, verbal noun, or submit yourselves completely. Out of this act of sincerely, complete, utter submission, man develops then a deeply entrenched true belief, that is faith in Allah's oneness, iman. This is iman. It is this true faith, iman, of the one who has fully attained to true faith in Allah's oneness, amanu, that the Quran questions in 49:14 above, you have not attained true faith, amanu, since true faith has not yet entered your heart. From these observations, one may sketch out the following progression. First, there is aslama, he submitted, from which comes the idea of Islam, Islaman, the act or idea of submission. Then sallama, he submitted completely. He gave himself up in utter self-submission. That is tasliman, complete and utter submission. Then came amanna. They attained, amana if you say yaman, he attained true faith belief of Allah's oneness. That is, he attained iman, the deeply entrenched true faith in Allah's oneness. So we move from aslama to sallama to aman, from Islam to taslim to iman. And then comes ittaqa. Then comes he was conscious, mindful, caring of Allah. That is the idea of taqatun or taqwa, being fully mindful of Allah, being in complete awe of Allah, fearing Allah, active mindfulness, that is awareness of Allah. This is the progression. This is where you reach. But before reaching this state of taqwa, you have to start with your aslama, which when you become Muslims, you do with the shahada. But then you have to deeply go into it so that you realize what it is to submit completely, to give yourself up in utter self-submission, that is your taslim. And then comes amanu. Then comes the deeply entrenched true faith in his oneness. That is where you get your iman. And only then can you move to the stage of taqwa. You cannot just go and say, oh, I'm going to take taqwa. You cannot ittaqa. No, this is the process. Thus, we circle back to Ayat 2 above, where it affirms that this book is a guidance for al-muttaqeen. And by way of comprehensive understanding, broaden our definition of who the muttaqeen are. Al-muttaqeen are those who have fully submitted themselves unequivocally to Allah, taslim, and who utterly have attained to true faith, belief in Allah's oneness, iman, and who have then ever-present active sense of awareness, consciousness of Allah's presence in their lives. So now, Ayat 3 and 4 subsequently follow and further qualify those people, al-muttaqeen, with a set of traits that complement them, with Ayat 4 ending with the affirmation that these indeed are the people, these muttaqeen with these traits are the people who develop an inner certainty of the life to come, for which Allah has sent 10 times la rayba fihi. Ayat 5 finally will assert that these people indeed are the ones that truly follow the Quran, the guidance, and they are the ones who shall attain to a prosperous state. So now I say here that the following exhibit explore the traits identified in Ayat 3 and 4. And here I will end today because we already lost half an hour and I'm already into 7:41. It will take me another 45 minutes or 30 minutes. So why don't you go ahead and do the dua here? And inshallah, if Allah wills, I will take another Saturday from you next week, because after that I'll be gone for more than a month. Okay. So it will be better that way. Thank you.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك اللهم لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت فإنك يا ربنا تقضي بالحق ولا يقضى عليك. اللهم ادخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين. اللهم اخرجنا من ظلمات الجهل والوهم إلى نور العلم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك عن معصيتك وبفضلك عن من سواك. اللهم بفضلك ورحمتك أعلى كلمة الحق والدين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأعز المسلمين يا أكرم الأكرمين. Oh Allah, spread your mercy upon us, shower us with your blessings, increase our knowledge, grant us forgiveness, and reward us with the company of the prophets in the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, forgive our parents and all our friends and relatives who have passed away. Oh Allah, make their graves guarded from heaven and grant them the Firdaus al-A'la. Oh Allah, we have many of our friends and relatives who are sick. We have our son Ma'araj and our daughter Aisha Wani and many others. Oh Allah, grant all of them full and speedy recovery. Oh Allah, we know that there is no cure but yours. Oh Allah, grant them a cure that leaves no ailment or injury. Oh Allah, guide all children, protect them and make them righteous. Oh Allah, we seek from you all of the good, whether we know it or we don't. And we seek your refuge from all evil, whether we know it or we don't. Oh Allah, we ask you every name you have elected for yourself, that none of us leave this gathering, but his pains have been relieved, his worries have been removed, his debts have been paid, his weaknesses have been concealed, his sins have been forgiven, and his needs have been fulfilled. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. Subhanallah wa bihamdih, عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.